We had the fighting year, which is convincing everybody internally that this matters. Then we had the building year, and this was really the massive growth year, and it's absolutely the team. It's not just hiring the right people, it's making sure that we set them up for success, that we trained them, that we supported them with marketing, sales operations, and policies. That really was the biggest driver of our massive growth for this last year. And then I guess the final piece, sales leadership alignment. This was the year it clicked. This was the year sales leaders thought of it as a co-sell strategy, a co-build strategy, as well as a transaction path.
Learn how to master cloud marketplaces in just 5 weeks with our cohort course. Accelerate your growth by tapping into the $300+ billion cloud spend that enterprises have committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Discover the future of go-to-market with Roman. During 10 weekly sessions, you'll learn how to leverage this fast-growing channel and network with top industry experts and partnership leaders. We will dive into marketplace strategies, internal buy-in, building relationships with the cloud, and mastering co-sell. Join our upcoming cohort.
Really excited about today's event, strategies for revenue growth via marketplaces. We have really incredible speakers, the best of the best in go-to-markets. We have Maureen Little from Okta, and one of the most outspoken people in partnerships and cloud go-to-market. The level of insight is amazing. We have Neeti Gupta from VMware, which was acquired by Broadcom. She's head of Hyperscaler partnerships, focusing on Microsoft. Very insightful. Holden, VP Global and Strategic Partners and co-sell from Cisco, one of the most respected people in the ecosystem. And we have Rob Weidner. He is Director of Cloud Alliances in SingleStore. All of you have been very successful in cloud go-to-market in 2023. Nick from Cisco. Cisco this year won title of AWS ISV Partner of the Year, which is incredible. And you've been leading sort of partner ecosystem with cloud hyperscalers and also across Cisco itself. So I'm curious, like what's been the main drivers for you to succeed in 2023?
The epicenter of our strategy is the customer. Is the epicenter of everybody's strategy is obviously the customer, but we take that particularly seriously. And what we've heard from our customers over the last few years is that they have an increasing desire to buy Cisco software and Cisco SaaS offerings in new and different ways. So we talk a lot about new routes to market for our technology. And as we've transformed our company from being a hardware-centric company to a software and SaaS company, and a recurring revenue company with over 50% now in recurring revenue, we've had to meet our customers' needs where they want to buy our technology. And one of the routes that they've said they want to buy our technology is through the marketplaces. And so we've had to, in some cases, reinvent our business processes. In some cases, we've had to augment our business processes and actually do everything Maureen just went through that Okta's done in terms of retraining our salespeople, our engineering resources, and even our business partners in the viability of managing transaction through the marketplace. And we see the marketplace candidly as a procurement platform. The actual selling is co-selling, is sitting down with the AWS team covering your account and ideating at the whiteboard around how to solve a business issue for a customer together and letting the customer have the decision whether they want to procure through the marketplace and burn down their EDP, or whether they want to buy through an alternate route. In either case, co-selling becomes super important because it's solving that business outcome together with AWS, with Microsoft or GCP is really the key there, and making sure that we're doing that together. Those of you who know Cisco, you probably know that over 90% of what we sell historically has been with and through partners. So having a business model that enables our partners to participate was a key learning as well. So customer centricity, making sure we can do that with our partners, and a relentless focus on sales execution is really what are the three things that we've been very focused on in the last 12 to 18 months.
Moving on to Neeti, you made great progress in VMware Broadcom over the last couple of years since you started, and you shared these insights in our course, and would love you to maybe like reiterate some of the things that you achieved and what are the drivers that you drove I think triple digits, right? Sort of in revenue through Microsoft Marketplace.
I think, as Maureen said, team is important. So I will reiterate that. And of course, meeting where the customer is important. What I think really helped us at VMware was an outside-in view. And what I mean by that is, often organizations spend a lot of time thinking about what their needs are, which is important, obviously, because we are driving a business. But the partner empathy piece of what is the hyperscaler trying to drive and aligning our CEO's goals with the hyperscaler goals was a critical part of the success, right? I think early on, about 2.5 years back, I realized that we were not on Azure Marketplace and we needed to be. So which meant that, we had to go and do the agreement. So we went from having no agreement to getting an agreement, and then aligning our sellers, marketing, making sure the solutions that we had could be listed and drove Azure consumption. And so I think the key to success, in summary, I would say, is understanding who you're partnering with, what their goals are, and aligning your top line goals, which is, of course, revenue for us, with those goals. And I think once we were able to achieve that, that just accelerated because there was alignment and we could do that top down as we did the bottoms up. In most cases, my observation has been that we do very tactical one-off things. We either just focus on the sellers, or we just focus on the product, or we focus on marketing. We don't do the co-build, co-market, co-sell as a flywheel. So I think that was definitely something that drove success, keeping customer at the center of all those things.
Let's double click on co-sell. Fortunately, we have Nick Holden, who has co-sell in his title prominently displayed. Thinking through the co-sell, and especially in the context of the company which has 92% of revenue driven by partners, how do you do that?
There's two types of co-selling in the industry. There's cloud co-sell, where we're essentially inserting into the cloud provider's co-selling motion and co-selling program. And that's different than Cisco's own co-sell motion with ecosystem partners, which are aligning with ISVs, software companies, and consulting companies, and other companies who perhaps don't manage a transaction with Cisco, but have intrinsic value in terms of solving a business issue or creating a business outcome for our customers. So two different but related motions. Why have we done that? Because at the end of the day, we're here for the customer and we're here to solve their business issues. And there's a lot of business issues that we can solve as Cisco. There's a lot more business issues we can solve if we align with a company who might have a vertical application that's specific to a healthcare provider, or maybe a FinServ financial services application provided by a third-party ISV, or a consulting company who might have a relationship with a customer that we may not have. That if we co-sell with them, we're able to uncover more information about the client, the customer, their needs, and better present a holistic solution to them that actually solves that business outcome. On the cloud side, GCP, Microsoft, AWS have all tied their sales comp to co-selling. And so we've got to insert inside of their process, because their reps are getting paid to co-sell. And sometimes that, well, now that Microsoft has changed that policy, actually, now that they're all co-sell has to be sold through the marketplace anyway. Before it didn't. But it's inserting into that selling process, which is different than Cisco creating its own selling process for companies that don't manage a transaction. The key for us, though, is to do both. And the key is to make sure that our primary route to market, which is our channel partner, has an active role in that process. And for all of us know, when you're migrating your client to the public cloud, there's a tremendous amount of complexity involved in doing that. There's workflow redesign. There's actually selecting what applications need to go, and how, and where, and what, and what's the underlying architecture, application architecture, network edge architecture, core architecture, data center architecture. What are the policies? What are the security policies? And I'm sure Okta knows a thing or two about that, around how to manage that process. all of that has to be dealt with, and there's tremendous opportunity for the partner to create their own very, very profitable revenue stream in that discussion. So we're actively engaging all, our partners who are interested in either co-selling with the cloud providers or co-selling with other companies that may not sell Cisco technology, but have huge value in terms of the technology that they provide or the business insights that they have based on the kind of work that they do with their customer.
Maureen, Okta wasn't as heavily focused on partners as Cisco was. So you had to do a lot of transformation to enable cloud go-to-markets sort of internally across sales team, C-suite, and so on. And can you share what kind of worked for you in this? Because there were so many questions in terms of how do you persuade your C-suite leadership? How do you engage your sellers? How do you do that?
Okta has been very direct sales, direct marketing focused for many, many years. And honestly, just look at the maturity level of certain companies. I'm sure Cisco sold some of its products direct. That happens. There's nothing, it wasn't like we disliked the ecosystem. It's that identity moving to the cloud was disrupting an existing, very ecosystem-driven model. So we were unseating and changing how the buying was happening. So how did we shift? It's number one, we started looking and researching how our customers purchase. So that's, as we work with Canalys, we work with Jay really closely. So you guys all saw the great thing. It started at macro, like the economy, and then it went into certain segments and the buying changes. But the thing I want to make sure everybody understands is, have you all done the research to figure out how your customers are buying today? Like the real research. How are they buying? Where are they cutting costs? How are they using SIs and resellers? So when you start to do that, you have to start with the customer first and foremost. So even though before I got here, AWS had won at Okta on the marketplace for a really long time, as you can imagine, we're natively built on AWS. It was kind of mind-numbing for some of the AWS executives, like, why aren't you taking advantage of this? But what we had to do is we had to do the research and understand how the buying patterns were changing. Macro, great, but actually for our customers. So that's the very first thing that we did. Then what we started doing is we started saying, well, let's look at AWS in a couple of different lights. And so if there are AWS people, they can roll their eyes at me or do whatever emoji they want. But for us, we were doing just fine selling direct without a marketplace. We aren't even a big disty company, right? It's not to be arrogant. It's just to say it's really hard to go tell your CRO and your CEO and your CFO, hey, cut somebody else in on this when we're crushing our numbers. Right? So what we did is we did the research, we understand the buying habits, we looked at it by tier 1 and tier 2 country markets. And then what we said is actually, well, let's look at it holistically. How do we build with AWS? And then what are the transaction patterns that our customers are shifting to? Where are they changing from traditional disty? Where are they using reseller? And where do we believe? Because I was with Jay, 4 years ago, before really knowing who he was, I was like, I think disty and resell completely shifts. This is way cheaper and way more efficient for procurement and leveraging existing credits. So we looked at those elements. Then what we did is we did a couple different business models and scenarios. I need X investment internally. I need this amount of work. And then we proposed it. And I'm not going to lie, I proposed it 3 times. See, Nick's laughing because he's done this differently. Like at Cisco, where you're primarily, partner driven, we had to shift the mindset slightly. And the other thing I want to be honest about is we were shifting mindset on a couple different elements at the same time. And so we had to talk about SI, we had to talk about the reseller and disty model shifting, and we had to talk about which regions. And then I put the money where my mouth was. I'm going to say I was going to do this much money at this margin and have this net new greenfield impact.